Alright guys, so today I am working on this older Sony alarm clock. It's got good sound. I bought it new in like 2007. It has a dock here for the original iPhone 3. This came out right as the iPhone 3 and the iPhone 4, or the iPhone 4 was replacing the iPhone 3. The dock here, the connection is a little bit loose. I think you have to basically pull the iPhone out in order to get it to work. It still works fine. It has an auxiliary port here in the back. It has this remote, which is kind of handy. I was thinking in order to make it a little more versatile, what I want to do is add Bluetooth capability to it. A lot of these older alarm clocks and stuff, you can still find them really cheap. And I was thinking if you add Bluetooth to it, it would make it a lot more useful. You know, you can buy these Bluetooth transmitter receivers, and this one has a 3.5mm audio plug. You can take your audio cable and plug it directly in here, and this will run to whatever device that you want to play the music on. So if you are using this as a receiver, which I am for this alarm clock, then you can power the USB, and the Bluetooth you can connect to with your phone, and then the audio cable will go out of this into the device. So the way that I'm doing this, I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to remove this audio plug, and I'm going to solder wires onto the plug, and I'm going to solder power wires onto the USB so that I can just put it directly in the back of the clock, and I don't have to worry about powering it via this plug. So the way that you get this apart is to very carefully, so keep this focused here, very carefully pry this metal part off, and this is on here kind of tight, so you can see I got one corner up a little bit. You just kind of have to work it and not break your board. It's kind of important. And then once that's off, you can remove each half. And here is the actual Bluetooth board. So if we desolder these three connectors here and this connector, then you can connect wires to it and power it directly that way without using the 3.5mm plug. Also on the USB, I believe the left here is negative and the right is positive. So you can clean that up a little bit and then solder two wires on here, and then we can wire it directly into the power supply. Also, one other thing I was going to cover here is one way to tell which wires are which. So you have the right and left and ground on these plugs here. I'll put up a diagram that shows which is which, but you can test to see which wire is which by plugging in a wire that has the leads removed, and then you can take a tester, a voltmeter, like this. I have it set to ohms, which will test continuity, and you can tell when you have continuity between two wires by testing or touching the leads, and it goes down to 0 or pretty close. So then to test continuity between these leads, here's the blue. I believe this one is ground. Yep, so blue is ground. Green, I think if I remember correctly, is left, so that should be one of these two here. Yeah, green is the mid one, and red should be the tip. The tip would be this one here. So that way you can tell which lead is which, and those are these are the three leads that you need to solder to. This one I believe is also ground. I'll just double check here. Yeah, that one's also ground. So you can connect the ground either to this side or to this connector on the end over here. Now that we've got that, I'll go ahead and solder the wires on, then we'll take the next step. I already removed the 3.5mm plug from this side and soldered some wires onto it. So you get a focus again. Yeah, I already removed the plug from the from the back, and so I can just hardwire it directly onto the circuit board. Also, the USB uses 5 volts, so I soldered these wires onto this particular board already in prep for wiring it in. And plan with this is to open up the back of this and see if we can't find a 5-volt power supply that we can solder this board into, and then connect the audio wires directly to the jack here. Yeah, I'm going to set up the camera and get started taking this apart. Okay, now that we got the back off of this thing, the next step is to find a power source for the Bluetooth receiver. And this is the power input here. We have the plug that comes from the wall plug, and the input is like 10.1 volts, something like that. So I was thinking, all we need to do is tie into the power input. Since this is 10 volts, it becomes really easy to convert. I have this voltage regulator that I got in a box of stuff from somebody that was getting rid of it. So there's this little integrated circuit. It's a voltage regulator. It's an old Radio Shack one, and let's see, this is this way. So you have the input, which is the left, the ground is the center, and the output is the right one that I have bent up so I could remember which one it is. The maximum input is 35 volts, and it regulates it to 5 volts. This is a typical LM7805 voltage regulator chip. So what I'm going to do is to solder this on the back side of this power jack here. And then use this and the ground to ground out or to provide power to this receiver. And then all I have to do is wire these 3 wires, or solder those to the top of this board here, which is the audio jack, the input. So that should be fairly simple. I don't know that I'll be able to do it on camera just because of the way that I have to get in here. I can't really get a good angle. I'll try, but I make no guarantees. So, okay, well, I got this voltage regulator soldered on here, and the way I did it was I actually put it on this heatsink here that's here for this other chip, and I connected it so that the center goes to the left here, and then the power in goes to the right. That's the way that these pins are. This right pin here is power in, and this left one is ground. I'll see if I can get a better picture of that. It's really kind of hard to see clearly, or maybe I can zoom in. So with the voltage regulator on there, I soldered this black wire onto the ground, which is the center one, and then the red wire onto the output of the voltage regulator. And I used some of this Antec CPU grease, the heat transfer grease. I put it on the back of this voltage regulator and then just stuck it to the heat sink. So now what I'm going to do is take this Bluetooth module, and I'm going to probably hot glue it maybe here. I'm going to solder these onto the audio input here, and I'm going to show you how to test for which is the proper lead on top to solder it to. So the way I did that was I have this 3.5mm audio cable here that has the ends, one end cut off, and if I plug this in on this side, then what I can do is take my voltage tester, my voltmeter, and set it on ohms, and check for continuity between the wire, each wire on the end of this, and the place where I need to solder it, and that way I can tell which wire off of here I need to solder onto this. So I have this set for ohms, 2K. So what I'm going to do here, let's see if I can set this up. I'm going to leave this, and then one end of these you'll put on the end of the wire. I'm testing the blue wire right now. And with the blue, you just probe. See, it's here. Blue is ground. So green, I believe, is left, if I remember right. Could be wrong. And that should be this one. And then red. Red should be this one in the back here. So now I know which one to connect. Here, blue is ground, green is left, and red, or in this case orange, on this this wire will solder to the right. So I'm going to go ahead and solder those up, and then I'll show that. Okay, so we got it soldered in here. We've got the voltage regulator here. We got the power lines to the Bluetooth receiver transmitter, and then we have this wired in to the back side of the audio input. Now, since it's wired directly in here, you can still use this to plug something else in if you want to. What I need to do now, before I put it all back together, is to take this cover and plug in the wire back into the connector here. I need to fix this in place, but I need to test it to make sure that it actually works. So basically what I have to do is take this cable here, plug it back in so that the control panel works. Okay, so that ribbon cable is plugged back in. I'm going to turn this so that I can plug in the power cord. And one thing, make sure that you're not shorting out the board here. A little bit more light in there, but so plug in the power. Bluetooth power's on. Okay, it's solid. So now I'm going to play, see if this works. I've got some music from Epidemic Sound. We'll see if it plays. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Forgot to set it on line in. We will turn this on to audio in. It's switched, so we'll go ahead and play. And it works. Yeah, now we can go ahead and put it all back together and try it. Alright guys, that's it. It's all back together now. Power's on, the Bluetooth works, and it's good for another, I don't know, maybe another 5 or 6 years. Got some more life out of it. So I'll leave links in the description below for the parts I used, and there's also a link for Epidemic Sound, which I am using for the music in this video, so go ahead and check that out if you would like to as well, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.